Premium beat.
Hi Swoopy Glam team, welcome back to my YouTube channel guys. So for today's video, what I'm going to be doing is showing you guys how I created this burgundy / cranberry eye look with the matte white cut crease. If you guys are interested in seeing how I created this look, just please keep watching. Okay Glam team, so the very first thing we're going to do is prep her skin. So I'm going in with the Garnier Micellar Water. This is the 3-in-1 and I'm just using this to mattify her face, cleanse her skin and just prep her for any makeup that's going on top of it. The next thing I'm going to do, Glam team, is I'm just going in with my Morphe brow brush and I'm just brushing both her eyebrows in the upright position, just prepping them to be filled in next. To fill in her brows, I'm just going to be using my MAC Brow Powder Palette and I'm going to be using the shade Cork and Charcoal Brown. Okay guys, so as you can see in the way I am brushing her brows as I'm filling them in, what I've done is I'm currently just pushing up any product up in the brows as the front of her brow is a bit gappy, so I'm just trying to use as much product just to create a nice fuller and brushed out look. As you guys can see, I'm constantly just going in with my brow brush and filling them in at the same time. Okay guys, so now that we can see that both brows have been filled in, I'm just going to go in and tidy them up with my P. Louise Base Concealer and I'm using this in the shade 02 and 01. Before I go in and carve out my model's brows, I like to go in with the Model Rock eyeshadow pads, and what I do is I place these in a line with the bottom lash line. I get my client to look up and I place them just in line with the bottom lash line, and it saves me so much time from cleaning any eyeshadow fallout, and it helps keep my eyeshadow and like eye-based concealers and all that sort of stuff. It helps it keep it nice and tidy, and it just makes it look like a much cleaner and smoother effect once it's finished. Okay guys, so once my eyeshadow shields have been placed, I take a flat concealer brush, which is also like a similar concealer brush that can be used for the cut crease later on. I use this concealer brush and also using the P. Louise Base Concealer that I showed you guys earlier on, and I'm just using the tip of my brush to carve out the brows, and then I'm going to use the flat side of my brush just to blend any excess concealer that is left on my brush, and pretty much just painting over her whole eyelid to have a base for the eyeshadow later on. Once the concealer has been placed to carve out the brows, next what I like to do is grab a mini beauty blender and make sure it's damp. And I just like to press in all the concealer into the eyelid, just making sure that there's no excess concealer just sitting on top, and this just helps the eyeshadow stick to the eyelid much better once it's all smoothed out and patted down to the eyelid. For the transition shade for my model's eye look, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in with my Melissa Sassine Cosmetics Golden Goddess Bronzer as a transition shade. It's a nice and warm brown, and I'm just going to use this to blend all over her eyelid and just blend it right underneath her brow bone. It helps create the perfect transition shade, and it's not too dark but it's not too light either. Okay guys, the first shade that I'm going to go in with for this Valentine's cut crease is I'm going in with the shade Sweet As from the Be Perfect Cosmetics and Makeup by Jar Clientele palette, and I'm just taking this in the outer corner and blending it all over into her eye socket. I'm just going to repeat this process on both eyes and just ensuring that it's the perfect shade as an eye base. Once that shadow has been put down, next shadow that I'm going in with is in the shade Love That from the Morphe and James Charles palette. I'm just going in the exact same areas as what I did with the last shade, and I'm just blending it, just deepening that color for the outer crease before I cut out that cut crease. Now that I've placed an even amount of the pink shadow on the outer corners of her eye, I'm just going to blend more of the pink shadow in the inner corner just to create a nice and deeper base for the cut crease later on. Okay guys, so once the pink has been evenly distributed, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take the shade Single, also from the James Charles and Morphe palette, just to deepen that outer corner, just preparing it for the cut crease, which is coming up really soon. Lastly guys, what I'm going to do to deepen her outer corner is I'm just going to take the shade in No Beans from the James Charles and Morphe palette also, and I'm just using this to deepen her outer corner. This is the last shade that I'm going to apply to her lid before cutting out her crease. Now I'm ready to carve out her brows, and I'm just going to use the P. Louise Base Concealer in the shade 01, and I'm also using my flat concealer brush used to carve out her brows, just now to carve out her cut crease. I've placed a little sample of it onto my hand, and it's best used when it's flattened on your hand and you get a nice even amount on your brush. Once her cut crease has been placed down, I like to take another flat concealer brush just to pat down any excess concealer that's sitting on top, just preparing that concealer for any eyeshadow that I'm wanting to paste on top, or you can also put a nice pigment, but for today's look I'm just going to make it nice and matte. To create a nice and matte white look on top of this eye look, what I'm doing is I'm just taking in the shade Canvas and Flashback from the James Charles and Morphe collection, and I'm just patting this down just to mattify the rest of her eye, and then I'm going to take her purpley shades again in the outer corner just to evenly blend it all in. Now that her eyeshadow is all complete, I'm just going in with the Melissa Steen Cosmetics Black Gel Liner, and I'm just going to create a nice and smooth, clean black eyeliner, just as a nice little base for her lashes later on. For her eyelashes, I'm going in with the Tatty Lashes in TL6. These are a nice and wispy lash, and they are also nice and winged on the outer corner. These just help complement the winged eye look that we've created. Next, for her under eyeshadow, we're just going in the shade Love That from the Morphe and James Charles palette, and just blending this underneath her eye along her waterline. Next, what I'm taking in to prepare her skin is the Embryolisse Hydrating Primer and Cream, and I'm just using this as a base before applying her foundation. To do this, I am just using the Melissa Steen Cosmetics Blend Set and Flawless Beauty Sponge. This is also wet and damp, and it is also really soothing against the skin. Next, for her foundation, I'm just going in with the NARS Sheer Glow Foundation in the shade, I think it's Cadiz, I'm not too sure if that's how you pronounce it, but I'm just going in and I'm going to blend this in with using the Melissa Steen Beauty Blender, and I'm just going to blend this all over her face, creating a nice and full coverage face. Once her foundation has all been blended, I'm now taking in the Multi-Use Sculpting Concealer from Born This Way in the shade Neutral Beige. I'm just going to be applying this to the high points of her face, which is obviously her, like just underneath her eyes, her nose, her chin, and her T-zone area. Now to set her concealer, I'm going in with my Melissa Steen Cosmetics Beauty Sponge and also using the Laura Mercier Translucent Powder just to set down all of her concealer and really set it into her skin, just ensuring that she doesn't have any makeup coming off later on, or just to ensure that the product is really stuck into her skin. Once that is done, then I go in with my Melissa Steen Cosmetics Dual Pro Powder Palette, and I'm going in with the shade Y6 and Y5 just to set the rest of her foundation into her skin, preparing it for any future powders, bronzers and blushes, etc. Now to bronze up her cheeks, I'm going back in with my Golden Goddess bronzer, also from Melissa Steen Cosmetics, and I'm just using this on her cheekbone, connecting it from the top of her ear and aiming just onto her apple of the cheek down to where her mouth is, and just lining that all up, pretty much just contouring her face. And then for her blush, I'm going in with the shade Cheeky Bits from MAC Cosmetics. I'm just using this shade to brighten up her apples of her cheeks. This shade does look very orange and it does look a lot brighter than what it is, but it's actually a really nice soft and peachy shade, and it also has a bit of a shimmer through it, which allows the look to look really nice and dewy. Lastly, as her highlighter, I'm just going in with the shade Halo from Melissa Singh Cosmetics also. As you guys can probably tell by now, I'm literally obsessed with her cosmetic line. But I'm just taking in this highlighter just to highlight all the high points of her face. For her lips, I'm going in with the shade Velour from Melissa Singh Cosmetics. This is a matte liquid velvet lipstick, and then I'm going over with the Peaches and Cream gloss just to brighten her face up a little bit, and this I'm going in with the shade Fudge on top. Okay, Glam Team, so that is the finished look for today's video. I hope you all enjoyed it and gained some knowledge or a tip or a new product. If you guys liked this video, don't forget to give it a massive thumbs up. Don't forget to also subscribe to my YouTube channel and turn your post notifications on to be notified when I upload my next video. But without further ado, Glam Team, I will see you all in my next video.